Welcome everyone. It's Angelo Robles at Family Office, and for my members of SFO Continuity, a special welcome. Today, how a family office actually runs AI from first prompt to first agent. And something that I don't do too often, it's going to use a PowerPoint presentation. So I just go tiny little screen, lucky you. And I hope to make this engaging and an incredible experience for all of you. And on that note, without further ado, shall we begin? As noted, from first prompt to first agent, how a family office actually runs AI. If you're live, a live working session so you can interact with me, Angelo Robles. I am not just commenting on AI, even for family offices. I am actually, and have been for years, running it. I have 20 plus years globally inside the single family office community, have worked with well over 100 incredible families, and lately for the last 2 years have been very focused on AI for enhancing capabilities, even continuity, decision making, processes, speed, really everything by implementing AI. And oh, how the last couple of months, which I'll get into, have been incredible. And there was a special inflection point not even a year ago, only about 9 months ago. We'll talk about that as well. Think about it. 4 years, actually closer to 3.5 years. That's it. ChatGPT, November of 2022. This is still so new. And the progress, like I hinted at, within the last year, especially the last 2 or 3 months, has been unforeseen and really unprecedented. You're not too late, but the window for early, I think, is kind of closing. AI per se will not replace the family office. It will for sure expose weak ones. I am not so sure that AI will not replace family offices in a long enough time frame. The reality is it will. We could debate that time frame. 7 years, 10 years, 20 years. In the meantime, is tremendous opportunity for the families and for executives and really for anyone in finance and entrepreneurship that could have an edge because your peers and competitors won't. Human reality, they won't begin psychologically, their mindset, and even their ego and resistance. All things we'll talk about more later as I wrap up are going to get in their way, but that doesn't need to happen to you. The cost of being left behind, I am 100% sure, is existential. 100% sure. So I was at the Milken Conference and around it in LA this past May, 2026. I bumped into a woman, very experienced, kind of a legendary figure. She attended one of my AI conversations. She came up to me afterward and said, and she mentioned the names, but Angelo, 2 founding iconic partners, 40 years in private equity. I'm assuming, I didn't look it up, but both probably deca billionaires, titans of the industry. They spend 2 hours a day on AI. They're already super rich. I'm assuming richer than you, more accomplished. And at this stage of their career, their age, their life, they really don't need it. But the growth mindset, the mental stimulation, the once an investor, always an investor, and looking for an edge. But the big takeaway is the people who least need the edge are the ones taking it most seriously. I remember about a year ago, Ken Griffin, only worth about 100 billion plus, Citadel, basically stating this AI isn't bad, but we got teams of PhDs. It's not there yet. And maybe for what he's doing, late last spring and summer, he might have had some points. And then he came out this spring. Oh my God. Wow. We have AIs that we're running internally that are 168 hours a week that are replacing equal to better and much, much faster. And speed matters, especially in what he does, and should matter to what you do as well. Better than his highest price teams of PhDs already. He did not see that coming. I'm going to share with you very shortly a top 5 figure in the world of AI, an incredible thought leader, a name you should all be following. And what he said, effectively the same. And within the last, again, I go back to that not even a year ago, 9 months. We're going to come back and reference that. So you're really unlocking the hidden value that is inside family offices. And yeah, we'll get to that statue, if you want to call it that, of Einstein, here at least to my left. Investment memos, earning comps, diligence materials, financial models, meeting minutes, all of it. If I really had to simplify it, if what you do is in front of a computer built around what patterns and data sets, how are you going to do that better than an intelligent machine? A machine that thinks, that will never be worse than it is right this very day. And if you look at the last 9 months, especially last 2 or 3 months, that growth has been incredible in terms of its capability. Incredible. It's going to be able to do that with being tenacious and being omnipresent and all intelligent and never being worse than it is this very second. What at the highest levels? Fable 5 coming in, and IQ is not the only form of intelligence. It is absolutely an anchor form within intelligence. Einstein was about 160. This is coming in at about 145. Do you think that's going to go backwards? Or do you think within, I don't know, 6 months or a year, with how fast the models are coming along, it's going to blow that out of the water? Again, if all you do, and you're good at it, is based on a data set, patterns, knowledge that could be looked up, IRS codes, legal situations, patterns in finance, how are you going to be better? Maybe right now, the top 2 or 3% of you, I'm not denying you're not correct. What's going to happen a month from now, by the end of this year, by this time next year? Oh, speaking of Einstein, you have multiple Einsteins. I could debate with dynamic workflows in Claude. We're going to get to that. Maybe hundreds of Einsteins at your beck and call, 168 hours a week. And you're using it to draft mediocre emails. Think about that. Is that the best use of intelligence? And think about what this really is. What was on the earth billions of years ago? Already fossils decaying into oil, sunshine, metals, and sand. The core things, the elements that make the intelligence that we have today, that us humans would turn into artificial intelligence. Effectively, sand that thinks. You have multiple Einsteins on call. Okay, a little hyperbole. Even if I go only by IQ, he's 160, it's 145. But he slept 10 hours a day. And he wasn't omnipresent about every topic, whereas AI commonly is. So, sure, for now, a little bit of hyperbole. How long is that going to last? And depending on how you define that, even from my perspective, you need to be doing more. Sure, conversations, getting value. We're going to show you all of that today. If this takes an hour and a half, it takes an hour and a half, almost a mini masterclass. But you have to. And I've showed 70-year-olds who barely know how to turn on a computer within an hour, hands-on instruction, how to go from chat to doing things, to creating, to building. And that is where very few of you, even as entrepreneurs, certainly in finance and family offices, have not done anything. And that's okay. Admit that, learn, and hopefully today is a bit of a starting point. Now, we do have to give some foundational knowledge, kind of an entire landscape of AI, or more formally, LLMs. There's what's called cloud-based and really on-premises. We may use the terminology frontier models or closed weights or models versus, if you want to use that word, open weight. Now, let's get a little bit into that, which is what this slide does. So many of you, and I think it's a great starting point, are going to be familiar with AKA the closed weight models, the frontier models. You don't need hardware. Practically any computer with an internet connection will do. And they've gotten so good, so much better than even if you used it a year ago. The main models, OpenAI and their latest GPT 5.6, Anthropic, a wonderful suite, and their Opus 5, and more importantly, their Fable 5, all things we'll, from that perspective, dive into. Google and Gemini, they have had some shakeups, but some things they still do good, but they've been a little disappointing the last couple of months. Meta in the closed weight game, and a pretty good first initiative in what they call the Muse Spark relative to that. Hey, the more competitors, the better, and the better for us as consumers. And of course, SpaceX AI, AKA Grok, they are back in the game. I am telling you, from last October, probably through about March or April, it only felt like Anthropic was really innovating and was completely dominating. I want competitors. OpenAI is a suite, what they do in coding, and their 5.6, it's excellent. In some ways, if you don't like as much long, verbose answers, more to the point, and there is nuances in a variety of things, including their personality, you may actually like GPT 5.6 better than even Fable 5. And what they do in Codex and their platforms, it's excellent. So we have two labs really at the forefront. We have Meta back in play, Google languishing a little bit, but still could be a force. Very good for deciphering YouTube videos because they own it. And their Gemini notebook, I think, is really cool. I don't think we're going to have quite enough time to get into it. No, it's not literally a laptop. Look it up. You'll learn about it. And Grok 4.5 is legit, very good on market sentiment, on immediate X feeds, more blunt, incredibly non-woke, whether you like that or not. And if you own a Tesla, and now be careful driving, but if you're not using it to have conversations with, you're not really getting as much value from your time and their perspective. So I want there to be a lot of competition. You don't have to pick one, you make them compete. But if you're only using free models and they're training on your data, oh, come on. And you're not using the best of their most recent capabilities and resources. If you're going to pour some money in, probably OpenAI and Anthropic, even at the $200 plus a month level. Now, the frontier models, you do not own them. These are cloud-based systems. And I don't know, they say they're not training on your data, but we'll get into some of this. Who knows? Am I really sure? Am I locked into a vendor Could they raise their price? Oh, and oh, they have to make money. Tokens. And any of you that have used Anthropic Fable 5, that is a lot of money in tokens, especially if you're building and running agents continuously, sometimes 24 hours a day. So you could spend a lot of money. And I don't really know how perfectly private you are if that is a concern and you want to be more sovereign. I love aspects of Frontier on the deep reasoning. Fable 5, 5.6, aka OpenAI, ChatGPT 5.6, they are awesome. Maybe only Kimi 3, we'll get to that, to give them some competition at that level. We could debate Grok 4.5. It depends on certain things. But do I always need that full breadth of horsepower, that deepest of deep reasoning? Not on certain more niche focuses or execution. Therefore, these are all subjects as we segue into open weight, where I have ownership, I have control, and I'm not touching the cloud or potentially bleeding my IP. But before we get to that, so again, you're kind of, with the frontier models, and again, I use them, you're kind of renting intelligence. And when you rent, it may come with terms that you have no power, no matter who you are, to negotiate. Maybe data retention, model training, access in compulsion, economic modeling, model longevity. These are all things that you have no control over. And again, I use them. Now, I do have some concerns over privacy. There are ways to clean things up. Be careful what you enter in. Make sure that they're not training on your data, at least as we believe, with what level we come in at, what boxes we check, enterprise agreements, all those goodies. Remember this comment. Chamath Palihapitiya said this: you cannot rent intelligence from the same place that rents it to your peer and or competitor. If you're all feeding your same data into the same frontiers, are we all beginning to receive similar answers back as it learns and somewhat trains on that data? Now, do I agree with this as being perfectly black and white? I don't. But conceptually, you need to grasp it. It's something to remember. Should I be renting my intelligence from the same place that may be renting it out to others? And again, token cost in these frontiers, that meter doesn't stop. If I'm building or doing agents or multiple agents, that cost will add up. Now, I'm not going to go slide for slide, doing a deep dive, reading every word. You DM me and I'll send you a digital link to the presentation. That's fine. But I think it's important to completely understand, again, some of the advantages, deep reasoning, ease of use, because it's cloud, the fact that I could be on my cell phone, I could be remote. There's a lot of advantages to Frontier, but you need to understand the challenges that come with them as well. Alex Karp also commenting on this subject. Some big names are coming out on it. Own the means of production. So if you're using the Frontier models, are you asking who holds your data and where does it actually sit? Are your prompts really secure or are they training material? Is any of your thinking quietly transferred to a party whose interests are not yours? Could you really answer those clearly? Have you thought about them? Even if they say one thing, and I don't know, even things like government subpoenas, with governments becoming more all-powerful and having them cut you off or spying on you. There are things that could go wrong. I'm not saying they will. I'm not saying I still don't use them. I am careful. I understand sovereign, which we're getting into right about now, and I use a collection of both. So there is a more serious way to rent, again, in the Frontier closed models. You could structure an account at AWS Bedrock, Azure, or one of the very, very large cloud-based platforms that has a relationship with one or multiple, often Anthropic most common, but OpenAI and sometimes others. And because how they structure that relationship, you're going through the cloud let's say, at AWS Bedrock, which you're paying for, and a little bit more complexity to set up. But then apparently the underlying AI LLM models are not training on your data. Now, you may say, how about AWS? That's for you to think about and do your own diligence on. But does this help to add an additional layer of security and privacy? It does. It adds a little more cost and a little bit more of a level of complexity, for lack of a better word. Now, that's pretty much what I discussed. And again, I don't want to go 2 hours. So maybe an hour and 20 minutes will be enough. Superwisdom.ai, interesting company. A friend of mine, a member of my organization, a builder, an entrepreneur, an investor who has attended my AI masterclasses, built superwisdom.ai. It's interesting in terms of what it does. So Bedrock secures the API but limits functionality. Can be a challenge. Firms are forced to choose, do they want full utility but maybe have data exposure, or a restricted, protected pipe that I discussed on the last slide? I think SuperWisdom has an interesting solution that could allow you to use more of the full breadth of Anthropic services and never a call into, quote unquote, the lab where an Anthropic is seeing your data. Again, you're going to have to do your own diligence and think through what's important to you. I know, and I did it too. On the surface, Anthropic has a great suite. OpenAI has a great suite. They have the best deep reasoning models. I could pop on for $20 a month, and as long as I don't go above that and start getting additional cost, or maybe want additional higher level services, it's so easy. But because it's easy does not necessarily mean, especially for a private person, a family office, that it's going to be the best choice. So onto open weight models. It means the model is yours. You download it on usually something called Hugging Face and kind of a terminal platform called Olama. We may briefly go through that, but again, I don't want to get too bogged down. When I do for my members only, they get my 2 books totaling about 600 pages that I update every month. They get one-on-ones, they get other proprietary resources, and the real big one, they get 4 AI in-person multi-day master classes with the best faculty in the world, where they learn, they're hands-on, they meet peers, and they build. I don't care if they're 70 years old without any experience. So back to open weight, means the model is yours. You download the file, you run it on metal hardware that you own. It works with the network cable pulled. You are not bleeding any IP, and as long as you're not APIing, which would be a connection that you would do that you likely won't do, especially with a Chinese open weight, all things we'll get into, it costs you, other than the hardware and a little more complexity to set up, nothing in token cost. Now, are you getting the most powerful of all powerful models? Unless you got $500,000 to spend and use Kimi 3, you're not, which is why I use both. So for certain niche things or execution or ultra private. Now, even on frontier models, I could do more sandboxing. I could sanitize my data. There's ways and structures that we could create markdown files to strip out proprietary info. Again, like we could make this 20 hours. So I do have to be somewhat strategic and keep it a little bit engaging for many of you. Okay, Angelo, what are some, at least the American open weight, the roster? NVIDIA has an incredible roster. They're Nemotron 3, but you're going to need some pretty serious hardware to do it at its highest levels. Eventually, when Apple does their M7, other technologies evolve. Is that going to come down in cost? Yes, but we're not there yet. Now, they have a nano version that on your Mac Mini or even a similar smaller machine, you'll probably be able to do it, but it's not going to be as good as they're all powerful. Thinking machines, Mira Murati's new organization is fantastic. Their inkling is great. A complete proprietary model that you put on your computer, you don't touch the cloud. But a little bit like the larger scale NVIDIA Nemotron, maybe not quite as much, you need a pretty serious horsepower computer. GPT OSS from ChatGPT, you don't. That's a relatively weaker model. And the Google brand, Google Gemini, Gemma, Gemma, our brand you're all going to be comfortable with, is wonderful. And most of you could have the horsepower, at least at the highest level Mac Mini or a good laptop, to be able to use it. Again, if I'm just using it to execute, which could take hours and hours and hours, I don't want the token cost. I don't need it to be the hyper deep reasoning. This could get it done. Absolutely. A little bit of a detour for a second. Bridgewater, Ray Dalio's, well, maybe ex-company, but Bridgewater, an iconic brand to those in finance and family offices. They don't buy more intelligence per se. They build internally using, they kind of have to, the open weight models and training it more customized to them and their need. I mentioned Ken Griffin earlier. Lots of big names and brands understanding the nuances and challenges of frontier models and open weight, using a combination, but inevitably beginning to have the hardware, the knowledge, the capability to likely do more and more on open weight. Yes, there's Chinese open weights. Yes, they're broadly probably better and more powerful than American models. Kimi K3 is great. You need a huge amount of horsepower to do it. Probably currently about 500,000. You don't have that. I don't think you do. But I think DeepSeek, Qwen, GLM 5.2, there's a variety of models that you should be able, depending on which one that you download your hardware, never API Cloud Connect into a Chinese model. It's going to be tempting because Kimi K3 is great. And their token cost, because in that example, you will have token cost. It's not on your hardware, it's in the cloud, is much less than Anthropic's. But really, you cannot be trusting that connection. What I call the metal, the boxes, Mac Minis, Mac Studios. But if you don't have them, you're not going to wait like 6 months for the order. NVIDIA's DGX Spark, pretty cool, about 5,000. You get that in 2 days. AMD, they're in the game. So don't use this as an excuse to not learn more about sovereign and open weights and get started. You could. You may not get in unless you have the Apple in your home or office. There's other examples, here's just two, of what you could use for a couple of $1,000s. Now, you want to go hardcore to things like that Kimi 3 and even some of the larger American open weights, then you may need combinations of like the DGX, NVIDIA's DGX Station. Yeah, that's like a monster. And maybe multiple and other resources and tools that may cost well above $100,000 at the moment. That is all going to change. I mentioned a little bit about Hugging Face and Ollama earlier. Let's not get too caught up in the details. Again, DM me. I'll send you this and join in my books, the training, the one-on-one. We go over all of it. So yes, I use both. I do love Frontier, but I know when to clean things up, when to go private cloud, when I use my own hardware, when I use open weights. I use a combination of both. And using things like Hugging Face and Ollama, yes, there's a little bit more legwork. Relax, you could do it, and I could certainly help. Okay, here's some important things to understand. Cloud, like the frontier models, like Anthropic, AI reaches you anywhere. Anywhere. I have my phone and easy with Anthropic, with OpenAI, with Grok. That is more of a challenge when you're running hardcore sovereign on your own hardware because it's not connected to the cloud. So sure, the cloud-based models, again, are hyper convenient and a starting point for practically all of us in ChatGPT and Claude, like I mentioned. But if you have your Apple or DGX Spark and you're running a sovereign open weight platform and you're away, your phone is just not going to magically connect to something that's not connected and not connected back in your home and or home office for a reason. It's okay. There is a solution. Tailscale, your own private network, secure, seamless connectivity of all your devices. Now, if all you do is the frontier cloud-based models, then that's not as applicable. But if you're going to be active in sovereign, your own hardware, don't touch the cloud and open weight models you likely need because it's so convenient. We use our phones so much and we're all traveling to have that loaded on our phone and the computer in our system. Maybe we use Hermes as a harness, things we're going to get into a little bit later. So, and there's a little bit of art and science to it. So you could have that communication with your sovereign system back at an other quote unquote location. Tailscale is fantastic. Open router, something that's very cool. So imagine something, hey, for an additional cost, isn't it all, that I could have a cloud-based platform to access dozens, hundreds of open and closed models. Now, the open models, because it will be cloud, you are connecting through an API. So again, you lack a little bit of that privacy. Some will debate that, but I think it's true. And again, depending on your cost and your structure with Open Router. But the fact that you could switch between various models on a similar prompt, a request so easily, it's great. Of course I use it. It's a powerhouse. And maybe I use it more for initial things, for testing, but to have access to so many different models and prompts and execution requests and how I tie it in terms of what I do to my sovereign and also, again, my hardware and my open weights back home. Again, I know we're starting to go a little bit deeper, but that's kind of what this is. Yeah, you're being thrown a little bit into the deep end of the pool. This is being recorded. So if you're watching live, you could go to my @family office, look in my past lives sequentially. This should be the first one. Again, I'm @family office on YouTube. Or send me an email, say, hey, could you send me, since you did record it? Sure, you may need to watch it 2 or 3 times. Do your own research. And really, at the end of the day, start to take action, start to do things. And yes, being a part of my membership, my books, my masterclass, accelerate my 500 plus hours dramatically for you and put you in connectivity with faculty and peers that are incredible and building. Things we'll get to a little later. So even before we get to building, like, do you know what you're doing on even chatting with the AI? Maybe it's not what it was when you last tried it. What did I say about kind of Anthropic's Claude Opus 4.5 about November 1st of last year? Andre Karpathy, a legend as an AI engineer, absolute legend. Of course, you all follow him on X and other platforms. He has a huge following. Was on, maybe it was Lex Friedman's podcast. Oh, AI is really good, but like building and doing the things we hope with AI agents. That was just October, like 9 months ago of 2025, was kind of poo-pooing it. And then Opus 4.5 came out. And then right after that, Claude Code. And he changed his tune. Kudos to him for the reality of so quickly. Oh my God, it's here. Really kind of AGI. So that's what I said earlier, when easily within the last year, mainly within the last 9 months, and especially the last 2 or 3 months, it's been incredible. exceeding the other 2.5 years before it by a multiple. And it's just happening. Me updating my books every 3 to 4 weeks, it's just not enough. This is happening so quickly. So if you typed in a sentence in a weaker version of LLMs/AI and you're not happy with the answer, you don't know how to converse or talk with it. Now, prompting has adapted greatly. There were complexities to even prompt engineering even a year ago. Now it's more contextual and it's gotten so much better. And even its memory within projects, within chats of our conversations, even without that, if we weren't quite as structured as we should be, OpenAI is very good with that. This is all getting better, way more powerful, and even easier to use. At minimum, and although it feels a little bit outdated, when you're maybe uploading a PDF and typing in, could you do a little better than, hey, what do you think of this deal? Maybe, as it states here, a stronger mandate, you are the most skeptical member of my investment committee, Mr. or Mrs. whatever, LLM. Here is the deck, our thesis, and 3 lessons we took in with this sector. You need to give more context. We're very shortly going to get into Claude MD, Skill MD. Those are for markdown files, Second Brain. These are all going to give it way more context. It's going to be incredibly helpful. And even what I'm describing here is a pinch outdated from prompting, but it's likely better than what 99% of you are doing. And we're going to get to some more advanced uses of it very shortly. Like here's kind of one. Let the AI interrogate you first. The prompt. Before you answer, tell me what's missing and ask the questions that a top practitioner would ask. Note the mechanism requiring the model to query you first. And the result, the model executes against a complete high fidelity picture. Maybe 30 seconds of interrogation could save rounds and rounds of revisions. I've used AI as well, even now that it's better and I'm pretty fluid, where I do find it somewhat frustrating. It happens to all of us. Let's not play the victim. Put the blame on us. Does it have the right context? Are we clear in terms of the outcome? There's a whole bunch of factors, and markdown files that I hinted at 2 minutes ago are going to be the game changer for all of you. Run what I call a council. Have the AIs fight. Have them battle. Again, I use OpenAI at the highest level, Anthropic at the highest level, occasionally Gemini. Not as much even the MetaMuse, but I will. I use it occasionally. And I'm doing a little bit more of Grok with their 4.5. And then I have some of the open weight models that I like. Maybe I develop a prompt. I then work for the result, the outcome, not just from one model I'm relying in, from multiple. And then maybe I share what one did to another and said, I think they whipped your butt. Could you do better? I wish I didn't have to do that. It takes time. But the reality is they're similar, but they're different. And I don't want them to be nice to me. I'd rather have the truth and have it be harsh. And I need to get the best out of them. If I'm going to literally have an Einstein near me, or dozens or 100, I need it to be the best that it could be. And here's where your talent, using the AI, orchestrating it, is going to give you a massive advantage over, trust me, 99.9999% of people, more so in the family office world, who do not know anything about this. Also, stop asking the AI to validate you. Why don't you ask it to break you? It tends by default to be too agreeable. By the way, a trait of people that are often not successful is they're too agreeable. You need to be more disagreeable. You need it, and to prompt it, to challenge you. Do red team prompting. You are a brilliant, ruthless critic. Your only job is to destroy my idea, to destroy this deck, and not politely. Yeah, like, yes, this takes a level of science and art. Yes, it takes more time. But if I'm going to have resources 24 hours a day that are that all powerful, again, me using the Einstein example, I need to prompt that. I need to prod it. I need to get the best out of it. And I need to understand how to do that. Yes, my books, my one on ones for my members and my masterclass make all of that more hands on and a reality. Another method, kind of the Socrates method. You are a Socratic teacher. Don't explain, ask. One question, AI, at a time, one sentence each. Never give me an answer. A great teaching tool, maybe for your children. If I'm wrong, ask the question that makes me see it. And when I could state the insight to my own words. These are nuances, hacks that you need to learn to get the best out of it. You using it to redraft your emails as a glorified browser, you're using 1% to 2% of the capability. Okay, I got a huge hack for many of you. Huge. Stop typing so much in it and start talking. This was one of my game changers for me. Now, on the frontier models, OpenAI's is fantastic. GPT Live. You could do it where you talk and it talks back. I like to talk and still view often more written back. I'm going to practically say it never makes a transcription mistake. Whatever they have behind the scenes, Whisper or something like that. And Anthropic with Claude Voice Evolution has gotten much, much better. They're all good, but I would say those two stand out the most, especially GPT. I get it. You're in an office with cubicles. Angelo talking is going to, are you still in the cubicle? Really? I mean, maybe if you're 21. But if you're home in a private setting, if you have an office, by the way, the first time, the third time, the first hour, the first day, honestly, the first 3 days, it's going to feel a little weird. You're going to have to overcome that and get used to it. Your capability to converse with it, to talk, to have it either give written or talking back to you. Yeah, and that's where I mentioned the Tesla with Grok in your car. Just be careful when you drive. This is game changing for me. The capability for me to be verbose, to provide more context when sometimes I didn't do that properly in typing. This is huge for me, huge. I highly recommend it. Okay, we're getting a little bit more complicated in that now. Okay, Angelo, the cloud-based models, even from my phone, Anthropic, OpenAI, Grok, all good. But like, suppose I'm remote and I got to talk to a machine that's not connected because it's my metal, my hardware with my sovereign open weight models and a harness. We'll get a little bit to that. You don't need to make excuses to get, oh, I'm caught in the weeds. Don't worry about that. Something like Hermes is free. It's easy. It's a harness. We'll get a little bit into it. There's a little more complexity for you to have that conversation. So yes, you're going to need tail scale. I mentioned that earlier. That's one. And then there needs to be kind of a, you talking to your sovereign hardware that's not connected. You only have tail scale. You're still going to need a bridge. In my example there, probably Telegram, there's others, but by using tail scale and setting this up properly with Telegram, with APIs, you're going to be able to have that communication to your harness like Hermes that makes your metal, your open weights work for you and keep it totally private. Is this one or two more steps? Yes, which is why you start with the frontier models, because they're easier, maybe much easier, and you get comfortable with it. But eventually you do have to begin to coordinate from my perspective and understand the power of the open weights, which again, assuming no API connection. And by the way, if you wanted an API connection at lesser token cost, you could. So that's always an option as well. But if you use it strictly with the right hardware and the ways that I'm describing, you have zero token cost. Okay, this is really important. If you give up on the video now before I get into markdown files, shame on you. Like, you wanted a deeper dive. You claim that I only do things for my members that are deep with my books and masterclass. Well, I'm giving you something here. Ignore the name Claude and its relation to Anthropic. That was the case when that's what it was mainly used for, going back a year to a year and a half. But the name still kind of stuck. Claude MD. MD stands for Markdown File. Oh, I don't know how to create a Markdown file. Your notes are an MS Word placed into the AI, mentioning for it to create the Markdown file. It does it. So no excuse from a lack of technical capability. I mentioned Andrej Karpathy earlier. God, this guy created so much incredible things. Imagine one Markdown file tells Claude your investment criteria, your reporting standards, your compliance requirements. Think of it of your institutional logic, persistent and compounding. That's the key word. Persistent and really compounding and always on. It answers the question like, who are you? How should you think? What principles do you follow? Do you find it frustrating to go into these AIs? And I'm assuming you know about projects and chats within projects. So it has the memory of you, but we all have to begin. I don't want to get too deep into temperature and context windows. That's going to get a little too technical, at least at the moment. Many of you find it frustrating where, like, Angelo, I'm using the AI and then I'm starting a new chat. I run out of whatever a size, and like, it doesn't have no memory of me. By the way, the AI's gotten much, much better at being able to do that. But theoretically, it's not perfect. And you understanding how to create a Claude file, a Claude MD more specifically, and it will tell you how to upload it, let's say in Anthropic. It's easy. I started doing this stuff when I was like 59 years old, like 2 years ago, with no tech background. Yeah, I had to put in hundreds of hours. Yes, I know a lot of people. Yes, I know engineers. All that helped. And all what I want to share in terms of what I learned to you, because, and again, I still have really probably 30 minutes left of some real explosive, incredibly valuable content. Whether you're an entrepreneur, a principal, a rising gen, definitely an executive in a family office, single or multi, or servicing the community, this is valuable to everyone. But if you found that frustrating, where it felt like it didn't know who I am when I have to create something new, and that is very, very frustrating. Not only is it frustrating and time consuming, you're not going to get as much value out of the responses in your prompt or build out if you don't know. And ask Anthropic Claude, I'm creating a Claude MD file. Before you convert it to a Markdown file, what do you need to know about me to help me with this institutional logic? It'll walk you through. Maybe it takes half an hour. Maybe you have to create multiple, like I said, for investment criteria, reporting standards. Maybe you start with one, but you work up to 5 or 7. Again, really? Is 20, 30 minutes going to set you back for each one that much? And then it saves it in a Markdown file? And then you know how to set up projects inside your AI where it's going to have that automatically, that it doesn't have to relearn you and you don't have to repeat yourself. This is going to change your life relative to AI. Now, somewhat interrelated is called a skills MD file, aka Markdown. So think about the before mentioned Claude, aka .md, Markdown, as institutional logic. Skills is institutional execution. Claude MD may be the master operating manual. A skill MD is the specialized module, a skill you develop for K1 review, a skill for GP letter parsing, etc. So you or your internal resources have patterns, have systems, as things that you have experience doing, when AI could augment that all powerfully. But for you to start off with no context in a new project, even though the AIs are getting better from that perspective, it's very frustrating. And you're wasting time and you're not maximizing the capability. What did I just say about the Claude MD? The same thing with the skill. Again, let's stick to, say, Anthropic Fable 5, because you want to spend a lot of money on tokens, but you want the best of the best. Help me create this skill on this. Now, after I did whatever that 10 minutes, 20 minutes, maybe it is 30, 40 minutes, convert it into a markdown. How do I then save that into this project and maybe this other project? So when I pull those up, I am not starting from ground zero. Again, the prior Claude MD, the master operating manual, the skill MD, the specialized module. You need both. You need to do this. You find the damn time. Maybe it's 10 o'clock at night. Maybe it's Saturday morning. I mean, we got Sergey Brin worth $400 billion or something like that. Now back at Google, like the two 80-year-old private equity legends I mentioned earlier, only Sergey's much richer and obviously much younger, because this is a once-in-a-lifetime opportunity. The passion, not just to sit back and relax and go to the beach all the time. This is a special opportunity for you to have a massive edge. And if you're an employee, really, if you don't do this, what's going to happen to you? This is a special time. You find the time. You find the money, you join, you be a part of this, so it could save you the hundreds of hours. If nothing else, forget me and my books, my faculty, my family offices that come and speak, that are building SaaS apps that are replacing six-figure SaaSes they use, and then sharing that with you, and peers you're meeting along the same journey that maybe you connect with every day after meeting them. That's worth its weight after like one use of it. One use. Okay, now we're pretty deep in this. So you're already locked in with me for what, about an hour or something now? Like you might as well just stay with it the final 20, 30 minutes. Second brain, related a little bit to the Claude and skills markdown. Your AI doesn't become intelligent because of the model. It becomes intelligent because of the memory. A second brain serves as your organization's permanent accessible memory layer. So sure, files like Claude MD and Skills MD establish essential constraints and logic, but how about contextual intelligence? That provides the necessary history and data to help make the AI, with its Einstein-like intelligence, make the best recommendations or decisions. Again, you got to stop starting from zero. And if you spend the time and have the AI walk you through the creation of this, it's going to help you do it. It may be a little frustrating at first. Do you think it was easy for me as a non-techie being 50, non-techie being 59 years old? I made my mistakes, and I'm hopefully here to save you a lot of time so you don't have to. Your family office already has the knowledge. The problem isn't knowledge, it's that the AI can't access it. So how about the resources of you as a principal, of the experiences, your rising gen, your internal talent, why they passed on a deal, why they took that deal, what criteria do they look at? Here's notes and institutional memory, maybe going back decades. Now, that's going to take some legwork, but knowing how to structure that and put that into the machine, into the AI, properly backed up. Again, I don't want to get hyper caught into the weeds. Like, a second brain makes the organization, the family office, the memory searchable. So when someone moves on, dies, the knowledge doesn't die with them. You have to understand that and the value. And you're not going to let, maybe to do this right and pull all those files or piece it together, maybe dozens and dozens of hours. It is going to be so valuable to you as the family office and the individual. Memory is really the third pillar of sovereignty. We have the weights that I mentioned, the metal, the hardware, but you really need the memory, the institutional corpus that captures decisions, deal memos, and logic. And if you're concerned about your rising generation, like, aren't these things going to be important? So sovereignty and repeating really kind of has three pillars: the open weights, the metal, AKA hardware, and the memory. You own all three, or I could argue maybe that's a little stark. You own none of it. I want to come back to, because this does tie together with what I just said, maybe you should even stop writing or stop trying to write better prompts and start giving, through what I maybe just discussed, better context. The AI, if you know how to structure it, really no longer needs, and you're not doing perfect prompts anyway, but it does need the right contextual thinking, operating structure behind it. So stop optimizing prompts per se. That's a little dated. Equip the AI with your Skills MD, your Claude MD, and a second brain, and maybe define the outcome. Tell the AI what success looks like. You don't have to tell it every step, where it's going to know some of this better than you anyway. Let the AI build a prompt, what some call meta prompting, and then maybe have that or other AIs take that prompt. It's a better prompter than you. If you understand that and you set up what I'm describing, I'm going to say that again. It is likely 99.99% a better prompter than you. The model now writes much of the prompt for itself. Now you're really learning how to prompt. But that's because you structured it in what I discussed much of the last 10 minutes. And a lot of it's getting better intuitively, for lack of a better word, because the AI is getting better. But your Skills MD, your Claude MD, and your second brain, 10x that, 100x it. It's a huge difference. So here's a little something that many of you could do. Now, it's a Friday today, so maybe rewatch this. Of course, you're going to join my organization. I'll see you next week at my August 12th and 13th masterclass in New York. Yes, it's next week, right around the corner. But maybe focus on this Sunday into Monday. So, one, access the right tools. You're not just the free version getting weak tools and it training on you, are you? So the frontier model, sure, whether it's Claude or GPT. Now, why don't you brain dump, like define your role, responsibilities, current bottlenecks, your workflows, what your Monday is going to look like, and maybe even do that Monday and then again Tuesday and again Wednesday, and then have the AI, what could it take off your plate? How could it make you become more effective and efficient? What I said earlier about creating those markdowns. What did I say about learning how to talk to it, which will be more intuitive, but maybe not initially compared to typing? Powerful, and an easy first step that, again, I've been talking about this for 2 years, hardcore for about a year. I've traveled the world talking about it. I've been digital from Asia to Australia and the Middle East. I am hands-on. I am living what I'm talking about. I think by far more than anyone else in what I do in the family office community. And I know families and family office executives, the small handful that are wizards with this. Many of them members, we learn and share, and they even share markdowns with our current members that are then building apps, all things we're shortly going to get to, probably 10 or 12 more minutes left. These are people that are, some of them, replacing multi-$100,000 SAP software where they have vendor lock and no control, and completely flipping that. The vast majority of you are going to be somewhat interested, and you're just going to move on from it. You're probably, yeah, like Angelo's August 12th and 13th, but I need to be a member, which means I need to pay. Like, you get what you pay for, and you might be able, after hundreds of hours, to start to piece some of this together. Or you could jump into an organization that has the books, the resources, the class next week to make you awesome by the end of the summer, and meeting the world's best faculty and your peers doing amazing things. Yes, I get the question, Angelo, if I'm not a rising entrepreneur, a principal, a rising gen, or a family office executive, how could I still get in? I'll normally have one spot that I make available at a custom price. It's not membership because you're not qualified for membership. And no, you're not going to get it for free. But you'll get my $2. You'll get the masterclass, and you're going to meet incredible people and learn so much. And if you're interested, you'll email me, you'll DM me, you'll reach out. The reality is, having done this in front of thousands of people in person and digitally, the vast majority of you are hesitant, resilient, and will refuse to take action. That means many of you will get bulldozed over. It'll be like a frog in slowly increasing heat and boiling water. You won't really notice it until it's too late. I hate to have such a harsh perspective on that, but life in the last year or two, in my experiences, has taught me that the family office community, finance, everything will change radically. This is not even 4 years old, and the last 9 months have been incredible. This is all happening very quick. So you do need to make a decision, whether membership and that value that you get, with definitely miles ahead of anyone else in the family office world and incredibly hands-on, and more importantly, the faculty and your peers are going to be game-changing for you. Let's get a little bit into AI agents. Eventually, even when you become really, really good at chat and have all those Einsteins that you could talk to, you need to go from chat to actually doing things, to building. And it's easy. Imagine doing one of your frontier models. So let's keep it easy. Anthropic or OpenAI. Not even going into their coding platform. And just typing in. So right now, you're maybe good at prompting or meta prompting, as I described, and that is powerful. But you need to go to building. You want to call it a digital employee, fine. You define a desired outcome, and the agent independently researches, executes, iterates, and audits its work while you focus in your team on strategy. Right now, in the frontier models, all in the cloud, without even going into the coding feature, which will give you more power. We're going to get to some of that shortly. But to get your feet wet, you could begin to talk. I said talk more than type, and have it actually build an agent. Like, it's somewhat easier than you probably think. Yeah, there still is a level of science and art to it. The first time you do it, it'll probably suck. But again, you got to get the experience. Now, where agents live today, by far the easiest, like I said, a Claude or a Chat GPT. You want to go more hardcore, you learn how to use the desktop or other terminal version of something like Anthropic, and or the counterpart for OpenAI, which is Codex. So in Claude, that would be Claude Code. In OpenAI, that would be Codex. Now, you want to go really a hardcore G. You understand the value of sovereignty, your own metal. And by the way, I use both. And you know how to use effectively harnesses, agents. Months ago, I would have said OpenClaw. Now I definitely am much more Hermes. Now, again, there still is an AI behind that. Maybe for deep reasoning and orchestration, I still use Frontier, but I clean up some of my private information. but I execute, which could take the hours and hours. That would be a massive amount of token cost in the open weight models that I have on my hardware that costs me zero in token cost. So yes, there is a science and art to this. Yes, there are some complexities, which is why just watching an hour and a half video or reading a little bit online is and if you rewatch my video, I think you're still going to need, and it's okay to admit this, the hand holding to help you through it and get better and better every day. I am not kidding when I say we're like early to early mid-August. You jump in, watch and rewatch this, join, get my books, read, jump into my masterclass next week. By Labor Day, the unofficial end of the summer, less than 30 days away, you'll be a monster. Assuming you're somewhat intelligent and putting in the work, and comparative to what else is out there in the family office world, you'll be ahead of 99% before 30 days and the summer is out. A year or two ago, I would have had to hire what we now call a forward deployment engineer, AI agent building teams, and spent months and at least tens of thousands of dollars gone. Especially when Claude Code came along, like that. You could do this, and you start easy. Now, there is something in Anthropic Claude, and again, as a broad suite, Anthropic is so good. Again, just realize some of the challenges that I described, and maybe a lack of privacy and not pure sovereignty. They're managed agents, which has nothing to do with manage, meaning multiple, it's hosted. Helps you do this. A little bit more behind the scenes as I described it. So maybe as opposed to one agent running a task, how about a team runs the mandate and you help to create, and the system within Claude managed agents could create multiple agents. But hold on. And yeah, there's a little art and science and technique to that. Oh, what a surprise. All talked about in my books. But this is a monster. Anthropic dynamic workflows. Now I'm really having multiple Einsteins not just talk with me, but actually doing things. Claude writes its own orchestration. It creates even an adversarial architecture internally with these incredible agents. It has persistent execution. It is a bulldog. It's scalable. And theoretically, it has a unique way that it does it. That now, again, what OpenAI does in Codex, I like it, but it's not quite as good or all-powerful as what Claude could do, especially doing a Fable 5 and doing dynamic workflows. What's the drawback? Why not just always? One, you don't always need such an orchestration, hyper deep reasoning, or a team. The cost, the tokens. Wow, you may have a huge bill, but you know what? If you have a task that has to be done and you want the best of the best, or augmenting your human talent and resources, maybe it's worth it. You'll have to decide that. And you'll understand the nuances of learning how to work with the AI, all its resources, like I included what's in Claude, and that's what it's called, dynamic workflows, that you're accessing that level of resources through the coding features, whether the version in OpenAI is Codex, or in this example, it's Claude Code. You have to go from simply just chatting to doing, to building. I'm going to skip over Buzz. It's Jack Dorsey's block. If you use Slack, it's kind of a Slack killer. It's hyper AI enabled. A little bit some of the things I mentioned with Open Router and multiple platforms and tracking users and their interface. It is really cool. We don't have enough time for it today. I got 2 slides on it. Now, here's something, we're almost at the end. SaaS, software as a service. The software you purchase was built for someone else. Now, AI allows you to build it internally. I would probably start with basic programs that get you more comfortable. Bolt.new and Cursor, although Cursor is not that basic. Before you get hardcore into Codex or Claude Code, those are a little more complex. Now, I described relatively the AI agent side, not that bad. You could get used to it. But imagine even using bolt.new and talking to it. And within minutes or an hour, the application that you own, that is private, that is customized, comes to life exclusively for you. I am not kidding when I have that executive of a multi-billion-dollar family office replace their current six figures in aggregation and reporting with their own customized model. More customized under complete privacy and control. And now that it's built and the time went into it, zero cost. In all ways, is as all powerful? Probably not. And it doesn't need to be. I've created technically hundreds of applications. We had, at the last masterclass, one of our incredible instructors create a markdown file of an investment thesis deal flow that is incredible and share that, because that's what members get, the sharing among faculty and peers of markdown files and build out that you then run through, let's say, Claude Code, and then it creates this incredible, magical piece of customized investing, finance, governance, family office software that is yours, that is free, that is private, and that is customized. Yes, I'm getting excited about this. This is what I mean. You have to go from only even advanced chatting to doing and building. And if I could, you could. And I'm seeing people do it. And yes, the masterclass is going to be the easiest way. And you'll walk out with actual markdown files and things you could download and do. And I think later in this presentation, like 3 slides from now, whatever, something like that, I do have a member quote from the one I did on June 23rd and 24th. His words, not mine. He will save hundreds of hours in investment thesis and deal flow analysis with what was created from that masterclass. You can even build the parts that what you think you want and no one sells, and you could likely talk it with the AI into existence. I went over those. Bolt.new is great, and Cursor is very good as well. I mean, think about it. Deal tracker, capital call manager, equity ownership dashboard, family reporting, diligence checklist, meeting prep brief, document triage, governance documents, mission statements. I could go on and on. It's incredible, the resources that are at your fingertips. I hinted at what Hermes is, and really much like that, it's really a harness. It's the tools, the files, the search, the code, your calendar, the context, the permissions, the memory, the loop, the audit trail. But underlying it is still the AI, whether you're using Frontier, OpenWeight, or a combination. I don't know if I would stick strictly to OpenWeight models on deep reasoning and hyper advanced orchestration. It's not quite there yet, which is why, again, the highest levels of a Frontier model lacking a little bit of privacy and token cost money. But at the end of the day, I need excellence in my results. Now, this is changing. Open weights are catching up. Technically, Kimi 3 could probably do it, but I would never API to a Chinese model. And I probably, even me, don't have $500,000 of hardware to run it as a pure open weight. But we're going to get closer, and it's getting better. I love Hermes. If you're going to be involved in your own hardware, your own tech stack, your own control, your own open weights, you are going to need a harness. You are going to need the capability to spin out agents and have what's formerly a harness like Hermes way better now than OpenClaw. It is incredible, and it is an absolute bulldog, continuing through the task until it gets done. I guess even if it makes a mistake, which is why a human in the loop is still incredibly important. Hermes is excellent. As you get into your own hardware, more sovereignty, more open weights, and you go beyond just chatting, you will have to find your way. And again, my books and masterclass into the value of building and creating. And Hermes is wonderful. It is amazing to walk into a family office where, like, I'm shocked. The competence is so good. You walk in there and the clarity, the speed of decisions, the precision of execution, like, it's almost shocking because you're really not used to seeing it. And at the heart, I'm a Peter Drucker devotee, been doing this for decades, been working with families around the world, have traveled everywhere to do it, and really consider myself a practice management consultant for especially the single family office community. So for me to look at something like this and see the tools that are available to us now with AI and the capability, what does a family office give you? The ultimate, if it's done right, in privacy control and customization. And some of the signs that we see are first principles thinking, of speed of execution. These are all going to be just so important. And AI just enhances all of this. You could do it. If I could do it, you could as well. Okay, this is a slide that's going to offend some of you. We're basically done, like 2 or 3 more. I'm just being honest. It's going to get me blowback. It always does. Where the friction actually lives. It's multiple things. And why, as I hinted, I could speak around the world, and very, very few family offices, not because of my membership dues cost. They're comfortable doing what they're doing. So the team members whose value proposition is tied to tasks that AI can now automate, do you think they're going to like this? How about structural redundancy, advisor relationships that remain profitable but are increasingly obsolete? Do you think they're going to want you to come to the guy with the beard to join, to be a part of this? You're fooling yourself. The institutional lock-in, existing vendor contracts that prevent the agility that you need to be competitive in this new world. How about a huge one? I'm just being honest here. Operational inertia. Imagine the expert challenge of COOs optimizing legacy models instead of architecting new ones. And the principles paradox. Ambivalence towards disrupting a system that still functions despite they know its inefficiencies. I mean, really, this comes down to a principle, but more importantly, those that work within and service it that are resistant, refusing to adapt on their turf. Remember this phrase that a most prominent person in tech told me about 5 years ago. In the end, tech always wins. You could slow it down. You could begin to regulate it. You'll have your battles that you win. You won't win long term. This is just too powerful. It's too good. It's so new. It's getting better. The arbitrage, because it's newer and most of you have not jumped in, is huge for you when you do. You get the mindset and you get the knowledge that compounds, which is why the opposite, why indecision is going to compound against you. So I mentioned next week, Wednesday and Thursday in New York, immersive with an incredible faculty and an intimate group of families. Wednesday and Thursday, August 12th and 13th, is my next AI Family Office Masterclass. The seat is simply membership. If you're not qualified to be a member, reach out to me. We'll allow one at a cost. You'll reach out to me. We'll have a little conversation in terms of what my 2 books, a little bit of one-on-one, and more importantly, those 2 days will cost. Every time I host it, we always have one from the industry who jumps in, and I think they get a huge edge. Yes, I do now 4 of these every year. The next one I'll put up on the site after this wraps up, meaning my website, is November 4th and 5th. And then first quarter, we'll do it in Florida. And many of you would benefit, as I had multiple members, including billionaires, attend multiple of these. And bring your son, bring your daughter, bring a 14-year-old. bring one or two people from your office. I'm good with all of that. I want you to have a massive edge, to get value, to help the rising generation. So again, reserve your seat, and that simply is membership. Go to my angelorobles.com. It's all laid out. You'll see my homepage, you'll see membership, and you'll see a lot of detail, maybe too much, about the AI Family Office Masterclass. It is very simple. You could email me. You could also text me at 203-570-2898. I already mentioned at the last masterclass, the member who actually built an incredible resource that he shared, and already a member is stating this: learning to use AI for diligence at, he meant Angelo's AI Family Office Masterclass, changed how I evaluate opportunities and has already or will begin to save over the course of the year hundreds, not 100, hundreds of hours. It's members, peers, faculties learning and building and sharing knowledge, markdown files, resources, and tools that if you just do that from an agent perspective and building your own effectively software, you may save 10 to hundreds of thousands of dollars. I already hinted at this earlier when I said this summer, heading into my books, next week's masterclass, even my forum in September, before we hit Labor Day under 30 days, you could have an incredible edge, whether you're a principal, a rising gen, an executive, or servicing the community. There is no question about this comment. Nothing available to you right now will have anywhere close to the immediate impact on your career than becoming really good with AI that I know you could do in the next 30 days. I know you can, because your peers and competitors aren't. The money's going to scare them away, the time. Oh, I'm better than it. This is 20, 30 years out. They are wrong. They are wrong. And by the way, whatever is number 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, and 10, combine it, it won't touch what the number one is. There is no question that becoming really, really good at these Einsteins at your fingertips, that not just talk, that you could build, this is it. This is it. And for the last time this summer, you have an opportunity to figure out a way. I had two people at the one I did June 23rd and 24th, one from Germany and one from the West Coast, with days to go, joined, paid, made their flight, and made it into New York to be a part of that masterclass. And they get everything else, including the ability to attend the others, my forums, my 4 days that I host in Palm Beach, Florida, this time March 8th through 11th in 2027. So it's not just AI, but AI is a very, very important part of it. And nothing will have the impact now and in the next 30 days. And you have a chance next week to be live and immersive August 12th and 13th. You could text me, you could call me, you could email me, you could DM. It's all good. But at the end of the day, you go to angelorobles.com. And again, the seat to all of this is membership, and all you get for it. Yes, I do help build. I'm not the only one. There's incredibly talented people. But when it comes to the AI perspective of it, building high-performing family offices and really having an operating system, a real operating system. I got a 700-page book called Creating a Top 1% Family Office, and 850 questions I give you in something called my Family Office Playbook that took me decades to prepare that. So by now, you know what to do. I'm not sure if I'm going to go live again on anything really heading into August 12th and 13th. I need to stay focused on making that masterclass and building out markdown files and giveaways as best I could. Maybe I do something Monday before I head into New York on Tuesday. Again, the masterclass is Wednesday and Thursday, August 12th and 13th. Go to angelorobles.com and you can just simply join. I make the joining process easy. And by you joining, you get that automatic seat and reach out to me. I'll share the info, the address, get my 2 digital books in your hands, probably even do an onboarding call before I see you on Wednesday. Make all of that happen. On that note, I'm going to begin to close out of my presentation here. Okay, here we go. Oh, not bad. We actually picked up a lot more live viewers as my long hour and a half has went on than what we started. That's rare, but thank you. I appreciate it. So it's a Friday, summer. I have birthday parties as well this weekend. This is such a special time. This is it. Again, Sergey Brin is back at work for a reason. It's a special time, and I'm not saying not a scary time in some ways. I don't have all the answers. I'm not a techie at heart. Well, without any further questions, thank you all for some of the kind comments. I want you to have a wonderful weekend, and I get the feeling I'll have some reach outs by some of you today or tomorrow, and 1 or 2 of you that will consider membership to get you those books and that seat next week. If you're watching this live, that would be August 12th and 13th, and be roaring this summer. Roaring. Because you understand what I'm saying. You saw the value in what I presented, which I had to really, really condense. And it's without the hand holding and the actual building. That's what makes it special. My faculty is just better than me. They're really, really focused on what they do. Maybe I could explain it. And I'm relatable because I'm not a techie. I'm older. Some of you could relate to that. And figuring this out and how it makes you feel so good when you're building, when you're showing your own son, your kin, and you're doing things that they're surprised you could do, and you're teaching them a trick or two when they're young. It's really a special time. I just don't let the summer just totally pass you by and not immerse yourself in this. Everyone, I think that would be about it. Go to angelorobles.com, reach out. I appreciate all of you. Have a great day.